Welcome to Multicultural News. I'm Stephanie Nobrega. Today's topic is the deaf culture. The deaf culture may not be considered a culture by some, but don't be fooled. It's very different from the American culture. On this episode of Multicultural News, you'll be seeing interviews with individuals in the deaf community. Our first interview tonight is with Diane St. Lawrence. She's a teacher of American Sign Language. She teaches it in high school for deaf students and also for students who are hearing. Let's see what Diane has to say.
Well, hello. Can you just introduce yourself for everybody?
Sure, my name is Diane St. Lawrence.
And what do you currently do right now?
I am a teacher of the deaf and hard of hearing in RSU 19 Newport, Maine.
And there's a controversy sometimes about whether deafness is really a culture or not. I just wanted to know what you thought about that.
Well, I think deaf people definitely have a distinct culture. They have their unique language that is a full grammatical, structural language just like any other, which has its own history and storytelling, literature, performances, and other factors that make up a language, and therefore they have full, complete language, as well as being a community of people who have a similar background and experience in terms of learning the language, going to residential schools for the deaf where they actually interacted with their deaf peers, and as a result they have a unique and different
Some deaf people I
way
know
of doing
do
things.
get cochlear implants or they use hearing aids. Do they still consider themselves part of the deaf culture, or does it vary, and how does that work?
It varies considerably. Some deaf people have gotten cochlear implants in order to understand the hearing world better and to be more able to function within the hearing environment, perhaps at a job or in a relationship. However, they still have American Sign Language and a culture of people with whom they can interact. When you take the cochlear implant off, they're still deaf, and there are many situations where you would be wearing the cochlear implant and you would still be deaf and you would still need a way to communicate. So American Sign Language is a perfect solution in that you would learn to speak English using the cochlear implant if you were able to do that, and learn to sign American Sign Language in order to interact with deaf peers and colleagues.
I've heard a lot of people say to me that you should call them hearing impaired, but from my knowledge I've learned that they'd rather be called deaf, or most deaf people would rather be called deaf. And I'm just wondering if you could give a reason for why that is.
Well, deaf people don't consider themselves impaired. First of all, they feel that they're just fine the way they are, and they prefer to be deaf, don't want to change and to be part of the majority culture at all. They prefer to be in their deaf community, in their culture, using American Sign Language as a way to communicate. And they don't consider themselves impaired. And when they hear or see people use the term hearing impaired, it makes them feel like there's something wrong with them. And they don't like that terminology. They prefer to be called deaf. They're proud of being deaf.
Now we'll look at the new game show, What Do You Know? That's testing people about the deaf culture.
Welcome to What Do You Know? Today our subject is deaf culture, and we have some contestants to see what they know about deaf culture. Here they come. And we have Katie Ferguson, Trisha Tam, and Stephanie Nobrega. So what does ASL stand for? Katie.
American Sign Language.
Correct. Is ASL a complete language? Trisha?
Yes, it is.
And why is it considered a complete language?
Because you can speak anything in the language just like any other language.
Correct. Next question. So why would hearing impaired be offensive to most deaf people? Stephanie Nobrega.
Because it puts their disability in focus, and the impairment makes it seem like there's something wrong with them.
Correct. So does someone who has cochlear implant, would they consider themselves part of the deaf incorrect?
Um,
Steph?
Yes?
That is also, this is also incorrect. It depends on the person.
I was just gonna say, isn't that one of those D's?
Some people may consider themselves part, whether they're hearing or not hearing, while others who may be deaf or not may not consider themselves part of the community.
Oh, that was fun to be on there. I really enjoyed myself. You know, educators could even use that in the classroom to teach students about the deaf culture. If you or someone you know would like to be on the game show, What Do You Know? Please call 1-800-YOU-KNOW.